Hello from the Yarn Closet in St. David, Arizona. We are unboxing my Dean & Bean sock machine today. Yeah, my hair looks horrendous. I've already had a nap today. It's just is what it is. Hi, Chip. Hi, Chippy Chips. Hi, Rusty. Hi, Rusty. Hi, Chip. It's hot. It's sticky. It's gross. Here we go. So I get this gargantuan box. Oh, I'm Yarn Closet AZ in Instagram. And the Yarn Closet over on Patreon, where you can follow me for free and get free pattern downloads in knitting, crochet, what to do with the sock tube, and machine knitting. So we get some cones because it's best to put your yarn on a cone when you're using a sock machine. Okay, and then I got this old-fashioned kind of space-aged silver bag. It's crazy. This is so lightweight. It's just crazy. If you've owned a sock machine before, this is just crazy. Okay, I get this small box inside of there. Some thank you information from Dean & Bean. I purchased this attachment for your drill, which allows you to wind a sock tube right off of a cake, a Swift, whatever. So I got that with my sock machine. That's the only extra I got. There's a lot of QR code scans in this to help you along, like scan this QR code. They give you a little bit of a sock tube to help you the first time, which honestly, I've had a sock machine before. This is as good as a setup on it. You can crochet a chain around one end and then just pull loops off of that crochet chain for a setup bonnet, or they include split rings to make your own setup bonnet. They include ravel cord, which I'm not a big fan of. This is a crescent tool to help you lift needles. And here are some extra latch needles. Here is a cable cuff, which is what you use in this machine to tighten your setup bonnet so that you can put weight inside instead of attaching weight on the outside, like many of the older models. This is your yarn feeder. And here are your latches, your hooks to attach it to the table. And here is a little tool that's like a Phillips screwdriver tool. That's cool. Now I'm pulling this right out of the bag. This is a rubbery side. for your yarn mass. So this silver bag is a no ice needed, sturdy and reusable, waterproof and washable, free of BPA, lead, cadmium, and all other toxic metals. So this looks like they're insinuating that this is a cooling bag. Living in Arizona and doing my groceries where I don't have a grocery store in my town, I can tell you that this is definitely going to help with some temperature issues. Not maybe as much as you'd think, but I have other bags that would. For if you are transporting this somewhere and you put it in your car for any length of time, you need to make sure it stays cool because it is 3D printed. Whoa! Woo-hoo-hoo. Okay, watching with me? So this whole top comes off and these little cups come out. These are to hold your tools. And then this is your row counter. And this little wire business for the row counter. Goes down and feeds into this goofy looking thing here. Like, I don't know what's actually in this little business here or why the row counter thing is fed into that, because I believe that this, yeah, it looks like it's just a battery operated. So I don't know where the wires actually come into play. Makes me wonder if there isn't like a magnet somewhere in this that kind of sets off. Because this row counter isn't actually clicking on anything. So it really truly makes me wonder if there isn't a magnet or something embedded that trips it. Because otherwise I don't understand how it would know. But here we go. So how do we set this up? We loosen up our 3 clamps. You put it on the corner of a square, rectangular, whatever deal. You've got oh, okay. All right, so this is interesting. So here's a clamp in the hole for the clamping. Okay, then I clamp where there is a space in the front over here. Can you see this? See how there's a flat piece here? So I'm going to clamp there. These are very interesting clamps. I really actually kind of like them. And then I clamp on the other side where there's the same flat piece by that odd yellow piece that I'm like, that has something to do with the row counter. Okay. Wow, this is so cool. Pop these 2 things together, shove this right straight in that hole. And good gravy, Batman, we have got a 3D printed sock machine. It's got a start spot noted. I find this interesting because we've got two V-cams on the sides here. One seems a little loose. If you're doing back and forth, you have to have the V-cams matching. But if you're just doing one way knitting, then you only have to worry about one of the V-cams. But like I said, I've already done this. And it is clicking off a row every time where the thing is marked. And you want to know what is right inside of where the cylinder is marked is one of the metal screws that keeps the cylinder in. It's the one that's actually marked to line up together. So that's just really bizarre. There's got to be something. So hold on here. I got together some materials, some old pieces of quilting so I can cover it up so it doesn't get a bunch of dust on it. It doesn't use regular lubricant. You have to use dry PTFE because it is 3D printed. Here we go. We've got a nice ruler, a nice scissor. Here's a large clip. Here's a latch tool. Here are my 3 weights. I actually bought these from Dean & Bean early on. It's a 1/2 pound weight, 2.5 pounds, and 1.5 pounds. So that goes inside to help weight the machine. And here's a small clip weight that I made myself so that you can, to help weight down your original yarn as you're working. Some extra glasses. This is an extra magnified ruler. What does this say? Okay. And then I purchased a cast-on bonnet, a 64 stitch cast-on bonnet from Etsy that was already pre-made from someone. So this one's actually closed already. So you can hang weights from here if you've got hangable ones, but you can use the cable thing. The cable thing is designed this way. So you tighten it up. It's tight on the bottom there. When you cast on, you put your weight in here and it weights everything down. I'll be just darned. I'll be darned. Can you put that box in with the other, that piece of paper also with the burn trash? I'm doing a podcast right now. Yes, thank you, my dear. Thank you.
That's it.
Whatever, yeah.
It's made of plastic. Again, Mama.
All right. about how this is going to work right off the bat. I'm going to pause you and come back and try my first go. Okay. You guys have been so great. So do you see what I've done here? And then catch one of my needles. I've gone through and I've just done a single crochet. And then after a while, I will go through and I'll take these open ends and I'll just tack them down on the inside. Sew them in. I'm going to do my last couple here. Just take it in, go around one of the rows, one of the sets of these, go to the next one. Just kind of keep single crocheting around. Doesn't matter what size you get and what size your actual cylinder is, because remember, to cast on you only need to work with, oops, not quite enough to get to the end. You only need to work with every other. So I didn't quite get to the end. I will sew that up when I tack down this other stuff on the inside. What I'm going to do to cast on for the first time is I'm just going to go right into my crochet and pull up a loop from there, because that loop's not going anywhere. Okay. Okay, so the trick is, with this machine, you've got the two V-cams and you've got the few stitches that arc up in the middle and the front where where the yarn comes in. Okay. So I'm going to go every other for probably 3, maybe 4 needles. Use loops off of your crochet chain from your single crochets. You don't necessarily have to go every other on the crochet chain. Doesn't really matter. Oh, now you have to make sure that it stays above the latch. This is why they use the split ring system, because these are initially falling below the latch. I get it. I get it. I get it. All right, well, maybe it is easier to use the split ring deal. Let's try that. Because the split ring is supposed to go below the latch. Oh my gosh, too funny. So there are differences from this machine and a metal machine. Okay, so I have taken a cake of yarn, put it through my yarn guide. Huh, that's interesting. Okay, kind of flop out there. I see. I've attached my little clip with the sinker weight on it. I've dropped that into my bonnet. Remember, my bonnet is closed on the bottom already. So then I put it through and shut. I like their feeder, very, very much so. Okay, so my split rings are below the latches and my yarn is above. See, I've never used the split ring before. I come from a metal machine background, and so it makes me nervous. It makes me think, oh no. but apparently it's going all right so far. Except my split ring is not allowing. Okay, now let's try that one. Ooh, there you go. Ooh, there you go. Stinking crazy. You watching me?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, there's an auction for 100 rounds of 168 grain AMAX and 308.
You're gonna get them for your uncle?
Well, no, those would be for me.
Okay.
But the thing is, I really want 150 grain. Even though 168 hits harder, you can drop elk at 200 yards easy with that. I just prefer a faster bullet. That way, there's not so much ballistic calculating at distance. But I may be stuck just to a 168 grain because you can't find the 150 grains for less than $46 a box.
Right. Okay, so if you get a click where it's not letting you go further, that's because your split ring is not below your latch. And so far it's not actually knitting these, but as long as my yarn is staying in and my split rings are staying in, I'm okay, because I'm okay if it knits through on the second pass and not the first pass. I think a lot of people get worked up about that because most of the time this first row is going to be waste yarn anyway. It doesn't matter how many rows of waste yarn you end up having. This is a little bit slower than the cast on was for the metal machine, I'll be honest. I don't think it will stay slower once I get the hang of it. I love how lightweight the machine is compared to the metal one. I love how I can kind of easily crank it. The cranking is so much easier. I'm sorry, but the cranking on the old one was hard and it got to you. This is, I mean, like a feather. This is amazing. Now, I do not have the light. I may buy the light attachment. They have a direct light attachment. And for my blindness, that may be very helpful. It may actually not, because it may not. So I don't know. I do have a direct magnifier light, a very small one that I normally would hook in. So I could look through the magnifier and it would be lighting this. I'm just not doing it for our little instructional business today. And once again, I've seen a lot of people on the Dean and Bean Facebook page get really upset about, well, wait a minute, it doesn't seem to actually be knitting everyone in my first round. Like I said, this is going to be waste yarn, so it doesn't matter. Just get everything on, and within the first few rows, it should start knitting. And the waste yarn is there so that you can have some rows of imperfection before your regular yarn. Okay, and once again, it stopped. So I know that that means one of my loops, one of my split rings is not below my latch. I just pulled the latch up a little bit, or the needle, and got the split ring below the latch. Okay, you can kind of tell that this one is off also. Oops. What do we think's going on right here? What do we think? What do we think's going on? I'm pretty sure that's a split ring issue, but I don't know why. See, because these look loose. Does that look loose? Is that one loose? That one's loose. That one's loose. Oh, it's a ring over here on the other side, I think. Well, there we go.
Oh, so you did get your machine?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you didn't.
No, I did. It's just so lightweight. This is a slow little tutorial, people. All right, I'm catching some rings on the other side is what's happening now. Because it's the two V-cams. See, I'm used to only having one V-cam. You know, that's how these are like so dramatically different of machines. Okay. KK. What are you laughing at? See how futzy that was? But who cares, people? Because it's done. Okay, if you lose a bunch of rings off of your deal, but you've got some yarn here, take your latch hook tool, go through the split ring and grab onto some yarn, pull it through and put it over. Trust me, it'll get you right back on track. Are you seeing what I'm doing? I'll have to try to figure out how to get a better tutorial thing for this. Because here's the deal. Okay, now we need a little bit more weight. So I'm just going to pop the next weight size right on top of the first weight. My yarn is going in very, very loosely. And now I can see where I have some weird kind of spidery business going on. Just take some yarn through those split rings with your latch hook tool and catch it in the places where you need, and put it over the hook in places where you need to catch a stitch. Does that make sense? I'm pretty sure it'll make sense in a minute. Remember that this is waste yarn. This beginning yarn is called waste yarn. So you can reuse it. It's not a total waste, but it's okay if it's not stitching perfectly for the first few rounds. That's the point of waste yarn. You don't have to get every stitch perfect. You can also hear it. In most instances, you can hear it. Because remember, there is no race, and part of what you want your waste yarn to do is help you get set up. Okay, I'm going to show you this. So do you see how I have all this gunkus? But do you see how it's knitting just fine now? That's the point of waste yarn. Just use it. When you're starting out with these things, waste yarn is your friend. Use it. Don't be afraid of just having bits of it. Actually invest in a cone of waste yarn or an old skein you don't actually like the feel of or something, and use it. And don't be afraid to use it. Because now, listen. So I had another couple blips, 2 rows past where I showed you. And it has something to do with how the weight is hanging, or possibly that there was a little bit too much tension in the yarn. But now it's cranking absolutely fine. There is more pressure needed as I'm cranking at this point, but not nearly as much as on the metal machines. How crazy and exciting is this? Dean and Bean. That woman with those children, oh my gosh. I could only be so lucky to have my children grow up like that. Design me a knitting machine. Do you see how it's coming out the bottom? Jared, are you seeing this?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk to you again later. Look with your heart first.